After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
Do you and your partner want to learn simple ways to grow closer?
Do you and your partner want to grow happier together?
Do you and your partner want to be a unified front?
Do you and your partner want to divorce-proof your marriage?
If you answer yes to these questions, you need to check out our book, Unlock It Forever, 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage Beyond I Do.
Each section focuses on a different aspect of marriage and briefly describes how we handled it in our relationship. At the end of the section, you're given an action step or key to complete with your partner.
These keys are practical steps you can immediately implement in your relationship and help you and your partner be proactive and intentional about your relationship.
You can purchase your copy on Amazon.com.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.
Before we get into our episode, we want to share this disclaimer. We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We simply want to share with you what has worked in our marriage. Now, on to our episode. Welcome back to the Beyond I Do podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we have a very special guest with us on this episode. We have Miss Corbie Mitleid with us. She is an intuitive counselor. She specializes in past life and tarot reading, and she is going to share with us how we can make the best out of our relationship by making certain that we are focused on our specific purpose and passion. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking.
So if you would start off by telling us a little bit about you, a little bit about what it is that you do and how you help individuals find that purpose and path through their passion.
Okay, sure. So this is going to be, I often call it my 30-second elevator speech, and it's going to be a mix of the two I normally use. Intuitive counselor, what does that mean? Certified tarot master, past life specialist, psychic medium channel, all that stuff. But I'm extremely practical. I am not, as they say, one of those psychics who thinks her aura don't stink. I'm not going to be people with angels. I'm here in service. I take my work seriously, me not so much. So it's here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox, go rock and roll. And one of the reasons that I am able to do that as well as I do is, I kid and say, well, I'm not a size 2 blonde with a trust fund. It has been a very rough life. 3 bouts of breast cancer, 2 divorces, rape, poverty, abuse, you name it. But this is what 69 looks like. 20 years clear of the cancer, on the other side with a great marriage. So I remind people, I'm not special. If I can get through that, so can you. You just need the tools. You need to learn about the examined life. You need to find out your sentence of passion, which is what you want to tell God you did when you were down here. You realize all relationships are always a work in progress. Both partners must grow together, even if it's not in the exact same direction.
Right.
So I've been doing this work full time since 9/11, 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's really the biggest gift.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
And I know that I said it before when we met you the first time, and I sense it now. Like I said before we started, this has been a day, and you come through.
Yep.
It comes through, and so I can appreciate that. I thank you for sharing that gift to help others.
It's what I'm here to do, Margaret. I mean, there's just no way around it. When you know why you chose to come down here at a certain point, I mean, look, the world, you've had a Monday, the world has had a Monday for years, and it isn't what we grew up with. And we have no idea what it's going to be. I don't know any generation, even the greatest generation, that was dancing on quicksand the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So we have got to be here in service to each other. Now, not everybody is going to be, but if you know you can take even the smallest something and help someone, give them courage, give them a moment to breathe, that's what you're here to do. It is not a mistake that you chose to be born now.
And so when you say that, you make it sound so easy. You make it sound
No. Well, clear, yes. Easy, not so much.
So what do we do? What do we do when I want to have that confidence? I want to know what it is that I chose to be here for. So what do we do to get to that point?
Okay. What we're talking about is one of the major legs of what I call the three-legged stool.
Mm-hmm.
Getting clear on your purpose is what we're going to talk about, but there's also getting clear in relationships and getting clear with spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And you got those three legs strong, you are not going to fall on your butt. You're not. So our sentence of passion is what I call it. It's not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, and God hands you a beer and says, "So tell me," you go, "I did this. Isn't it cool?" Now, my sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, whack them on their shoulder and say, "Here are your wings. Now you don't need a flight plan. Get," I'm living my bliss. But I have done it all my life as an actress, an author, an inspirational speaker, a video producer, a legal assistant, an executive recruiter, and getting to it. It's not your job.
Okay.
But the thing is, when people come to me and say, "What is my purpose?" I just look at them and go, I haven't lived your life, my darlings. I haven't faced your challenges. I haven't learned your truths. That's all you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I teach people there are two ways to do it. Yes, I've got a consultation that you can do with me, and it's lots of questions. But you know what? I always downsell myself. If you can do it a less expensive way, do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a chapter in my book, Clean Out Your Life Closet, and it's called Getting Clear on Your Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I ask 6 very important questions in there. The first one is, what has your life been about? And that's not as easy as saying friends or money or whatever, because let's say your life has always revolved around not having enough money.
Mm-hmm.
3 ways you could look at it. You're so panicked about not having enough money, you will do anything, legal or illegal, to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or you're convinced that you will never have enough money and you're in a perpetual victim head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, poor me. Or you say, okay, if money is tight, can I learn to live frugally so that simplicity is enough? So the one thing is money, but there are 3 different ways of looking at it. Let's say that you always fight for the underdog, whether or not they win. Is that because you feel justice isn't fair, or you simply want to lift these people up? When you decide what is key for your life, the patterns that you always follow, then you're going to find the answer to that. I mean, with me, all the things I've been through, in order to get through them, I had to go from fear to fearlessness.
Right.
And so that goes through everything that I've done. That's how I created my sentence of passion. The next one is, where does my happiness live? Okay. You got to ask yourself that. And it's not necessarily material things. It's, who are you? With me, words are my drug of choice. I love lecturing. I'm a writer. So that's important to me, to communicate out with people. My beloved stepmother, Shirley, God rest her gorgeous soul, she was never happier than when she was digging in the dirt. And that's why when she got left and divorced by her first husband in her 50s, she went, I think it was Temple University, and she got her degree in landscape design.
Wow.
She didn't care how old she was.
Wow.
And so she started working on arboretums, things like that. She knew that's what she was happy with. And when she married my dad, she would go in the back and she would put little plugs of moss and she'd dig in the backyard because we had woods in the backyard. So that's an example. What makes you happy? Where do you feel like you're running on all cylinders? The next thing is, where do you find comfort? That's not potato chips and video games. That's what do you surround yourself with? For me, comfort is, I got to have my Maine Coon cats because they're my kids. I am no longer a city girl. I get to live in a little bungalow in a 12-acre hayfield in the middle of nothing.
Wow.
But that feeds my soul.
Right.
So even if I lived in the city, I would find a way to go to the country and sit.
Okay.
So that's what makes you happy. What crises changed your life? That's enormous. With me, I had plenty to choose from. Probably the biggest one was the cancer dance 3 times. Since the last one took me from a Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. Double mastectomy, ovaries out, no choice.
Oh, wow.
But some people, a friend of mine she lost everything in the Camp Fire in California. I've had friends who lost things in Houston because of the massive floods a few years ago. I have had people who 1 month after they got married, their husband was killed in a car accident.
Oh my.
So you look at what you've lived through, you acknowledge your strength, and you see how that forged you like good steel.
Right.
The next thing is very simple. How do you learn or work best? Remember, I said that words are my drug of choice. And obviously, I think people are fun. You're going to put me in a back office where I'm just doing data entry. I will die by inches. Are you left-brained, which is logic, very Spock, or right-brained? If people don't know what that is, left brain goes A to B to C to D. Right brain goes A to Z to Green to Paris. Just do you learn best by seeing something done, hearing how to do it, or doing it yourself? Those are the things you need to learn about yourself. It's, you love your new car, but you know how to change the oil and put in gas. That's what how you learn to work best. And the last thing is, what do you want to be remembered for? And don't say, I'm just me. No one's going to remember me. That's not true. If you have people in your life, they'll remember you.
Right.
My father was a magnificent internist cardiologist, director of the heart station at Cooper Hospital in Camden for 30 years, Camden, New Jersey. And he retired in 89. He died in 2001. And they still talk about him at the hospital with love and respect.
Wow.
Okay? Me, I want to help people get past their limits, grab their life and love it with both hands, and laugh when they remember how I told them how to do it. Because I'm funny. I totally admit it. I've always said that I wanted to be like a cross between Swami Beyondananda and Wayne Dyer. Funny as hell, but normal enough you could borrow my lawnmower. And that's pretty much where I am. So, and those are just 6 questions of the enormous list that I have when you're working with me one-on-one, because you will end up with 2 things. One of them is your sentence of passion, which is your rallying cry to the world, but you're also going to find your motto. And I encourage people, don't just pull something out of Hallmark.
Right.
Okay. Because that's everybody's. Find out what's real for you. So technically I have 2 mottos. The public one is live the examined life. What's that mean? This is happening and I don't like it, but I have to go through it. Mm-hmm. What am I learning from it? How can I teach with it? Next. But the one that is truly internal is actually a quote from a wonderful book by Robert Heinlein called Time Enough for Love. And it's, in life, moderation is for monks. Take big bites. And that's how I live.
I love it.
Right.
I love it. And that's obvious by the list of things that you've gone through, and you're here with us today with a smile on your face and helping us.
I hope the next lifetime I give myself a little more R&R, but this one I managed.
And you said 69 and I don't see it.
2 magic words, darling. No children. Takes 10 years off your looks right there.
Oh, we're about 26 and a half years too late for that one.
Oops.
Wow. Well, and like it comes through, and to hear all that you've been through, and then the fact that you want to use that not to kind of sulk in it, but to help others get through. And it doesn't come off in a braggy, I'm here type way. It's beautiful to hear that. So you've given us these questions that we go through and we examine ourselves, and then we are set with the task of using those things to figure out why we are here at this time. Mm-hmm. And then what?
And then you find wonderful ways of doing it. A lot of women come to me, empty nesters, or they've retired and they don't know what to do with themselves. And I say, well, what do you want? And they look at me blankly. It's because women are taught not to want. I'll use the example. We're 4. And there's a plate of cookies, and we're smart. We know the big one has more than the little one, so we go for the big one. And our mother says, you're bad and you're selfish, so you're not going to get the cookie. And she gives it to your little brother, who eats it at you. Little brothers do that. But then she says, besides, girls who eat cookies get fat. Nobody likes a fat girl. Do you really want the cookie? So we are subliminally taught by the time we're 6 or 7, at least our generation, if you want anything, you're wrong, you're bad, you'll be punished, and you have to watch somebody else get it. And I am here to tell you that's old news. That is absolutely old news. There is nothing wrong with wanting to do something. The only thing that won't help you is needing it.
Right.
Why? If I have 100 things that I think I need and I only get 50 of them, now look at everything I didn't get. When you want 100 things, but you get 50 of them, well, wow, look what I got.
I love that.
That's why words are so important. Want is okay. Need is a crutch.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
I love that. I tend to lean towards need, which puts me in the position of I look at the things that I didn't get. So I love that want versus need. So
yeah.
So we have the first leg, which is purpose, and that moves to the next leg of relationships.
Yep. And I have experience. I had 2 very short marriages. The first one lasted less than a year, and I left the day he started throwing me against the wall. Yeah. And the second one lasted less than 2 years. I'd known this guy for 12 years. We'd been friends. We figured that's as good a reason as any to get married. And we were living in New York. He didn't like New York. He wanted California. I said, I'm sorry. There are 4 seasons there: fire, flood, earthquake, and mudslide. I'm not going. And so we settled on Atlanta. Now, when we got down there, it was fine. I mean, it was great. I learned to give directions by the big chicken. I learned to go, I had to hang up my Philadelphia Phillies hat and go for the Atlanta Braves. But after a couple of years, he decided he just didn't want to be married, and he left, went to California. And I was stuck down there, and all of a sudden I was the evil Yankee single woman who was going to steal them husbands. And, part of it is I'm not a magnolia. I'm a bagel. Rich, he was a surfboard. He needed to be there. But after 3 weeks of playing the wounded wife, I said, what do I want? And what it was is I wanted to keep my friend. So I said, if you want to leave, fine, leave. But I want to keep the friendship. That changed everything. We did everything on a handshake. He was always right there with the financial help he promised, gave me extra if he had it. And after I moved back up to New York and met and married the wonderful guy I've been with for a quarter century now, he and I still send each other birthday cards. He was Mr. Lion, I was Miss Kitty.
Oh, wow.
And this is the magic. Before we get to how you get there, this is what happens when you respond instead of react to a problem. Rich died very young, in his early 50s in 2007, in October. The following March is my birthday month, I was lecturing at a spiritualist church in Rochester, and it was rookie day. That's when people that have never given messages are allowed to get up if they have a messaging. Right. So this very nervous girl comes up to me and says, Reverend Corbie, I have mess again. Yes, you can come to me. And she closes her eyes, and you can tell she's trying not to cry because she thinks we'll all think she's crazy. And she goes, there's a very chubby man, and he looks like Santa Claus, only he's younger and he's blonde. And he has a red T-shirt and shorts and sandals. And he's holding a cat that looks like it's a Siamese, but it has long hair, and he's making it wave at you, and he's blowing you kisses. And I'm just laughing because that's Rich. He did look like Santa Claus, young. I know what T-shirt that was. He was a computer jock. Shorts and sandals was how he went to work. The cat he was holding was our Himalayan Kaiser Wilhelm. Oh, wow. And it was a week before my birthday.
Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
Now, if we had had a bitter divorce, that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
That was a miracle from the great beyond. Right there, to me, is proof. If you can nurture the relationship and not make it this, you have no idea what you're creating. Wow. So let's look at the 8 things that I talk about for being in a good relationship. The first one is talk.
Yep.
How many people just, it's not worth the argument. He won't understand it. He always questions. And so they stop talking.
Right.
Talking is how you get together with people. You're not afraid to talk. You find out more about yourself. It's how you grow together.
Right.
Now, when you got a problem, you have to make it about the challenge, not personal sniping. Okay? Let's say that you live in a small apartment, you and your person, and there's not enough closet space. And somehow your stuff always ends up on the floor of the closet. The way to discuss it is, look, we don't seem to have enough closet space, and I'm noticing my stuff always ends up on the floor. What can we do to fix it? That is much better than looking at your partner and saying, you are such a closet pig. Which one do you think? See, when you don't snipe, then nobody comes back at you and says, well, you never clean up the kitchen, which totally takes it out into crazy town.
Right.
So always we, make it a we, and figure out what we can do together to solve this problem to make it better for all of us.
So sarcasm doesn't work.
Depends what state you're in. New York, yeah, you're going to get
it. Well, we're down south, so you know firsthand.
Yep, I do. Because remember, my mother was from Tidewater, Virginia, and I know that Norfolk is pronounced Norfolk, not just Norfolk, that all the Northerners do. All right, the next one is to versus at. And this is really important. When someone comes home and they're just railing about this is bad and that went wrong, sometimes if you don't know where that's coming from, you'll feel attacked and you'll attack back. My husband, when he was a museum director for an 8-building Revolutionary War site here, he had 2 bosses, the County Board of Supervisors and the Historical Society Board of Trustees. And that was hard. So he would sometimes come home and rant, and I'd say, okay, are you yelling to me or at me? What's the difference? Yelling to me means you just have to get it out. And I will put the spiritual duct tape on my mouth and I will hold space for you. If you're yelling at me, that means we have a problem that we need to solve. And then you roll it back to challenge, not personal sniping. Right. Now, another versus is fix versus listen. Every couple, one of them's a fixer. There's a problem. They're always like, can we do this? Can we do that? The other. Now, sometimes I think out loud and I'm talking about this and then this happened and blah, blah, blah. And my husband has learned, do not just say, well, have you tried this? Or why didn't you look at that? Because he's deflecting me from how I'm trying to think. And then I just lose it and there we go. So when he sees me going stomp, 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 he says, okay, do you want me to try to fix this with you or you want me just to listen? If I say just listen, then he puts on the spiritual duct tape and holds space. And then I might say, okay, I'm done now. Let's see if we can fix this. Then what that signals is I am absolutely ready to listen to anything that he has to say. Right. And we can do this together. And frankly, solving a problem together is bonding. Remember, that's how you grow together. That's talk.
Right.
Okay. So the next thing is the 60-60, which surprises people. What do you mean? 50-50 is good. But 60-60 means each person goes a little bit more than halfway, and it's the extra 10% that locks it in the tough times.
Oh, wow.
We were only married 18 months when the doctors told me 3 strikes, you're out. You know, we're doing the double mastectomy, we're taking the ovaries, and we are going to really destroy you internally. Your marriage is not going to look the same. And he looked at me and he said, am I going to miss them? Yeah, they were gorgeous, but I married you, not them. Now, I know. I did not realize what a hero I had. This marriage looks very, very different than we thought it was going to, because we only had 18 months of a normal marriage.
Right.
All the rest of the time, 20 years, we've had to work. I sort of want to say crippled, but not quite. It's like when you drop your cell phone and the screenshot cracks, but it's still there. Right. You can still use the phone, but it's more difficult.
Right.
So that's what this marriage has been. But what I will say is, because we've had to work with each other like this, we're more in love now than we were the day we got married, because we had to make it work.
Right.
So the 60-60 was everything that Carl did for me when I was figuring out, who am I? What am I going to do? Okay. Now, 2 years ago, he had jaw surgery, and he's a musician, so this was serious stuff. I didn't feel put upon. I thought, okay, this is where my 60 comes in. That's why 60-60 is so important.
Wow.
Now, the other thing is you first, then the relationship. And what do you mean after 60-60? If you don't take care of yourself, you won't have enough to give to your partner, the kids, whoever it is that you work with. I need more quiet than he does. So there will be times that I tell him, all right, I'm going to plug in, which means I put on my earbuds and I go and look at one of the ambient videos on YouTube that shows, the night beach, and I just calm down. His thing is he's got to play music. And he plays tuba, bassoon, double bell, euphonium, you name it. Okay? He blats. And so I make sure that I make room for him to do that. I don't schedule readings when I know he has to practice. We work with each other. We each put ourselves first so we have enough to give to each other wholly.
Right.
Don't supplement your needs. For instance, what I just talked about, when I say, oh, well, he's got to practice or he's doing this, what happens is it's like ratcheting up the string of a guitar, and eventually you're going to break it because you've turned the pegs too much. So if you need something, tell your partner.
Right.
Now, I know I said need versus want, but sometimes there are needs.
Right.
I need, I've been cooking in the kitchen for 2 weeks. I really need to go out to dinner tonight. Now, mind you, I love cooking, and there are a few restaurants that cook better than I do. But sometimes all you want is the diner.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Smoky bones, because I don't do ribs well.
Sometimes you just want the experience.
You do.
Right.
Somebody else clean up and does the dishes.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. And so make room for each other with that. And give the relationship the time it requires. Too many people, they treat their partner like an off-night backstreet. Well, I have all this stuff to do and I'm working 80 hours and then I got to go out for a beer with the guys and I'll see you. No.
Right.
No. If you were in a partnership, the partnership comes first because that is what feeds you for the rest of your life.
Right. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I came home today to dinner being cooked and that was a welcome break. I didn't have to ask, but that need was met. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will never let Carl do that. Carl cannot cook. I will let him do the dishes and smooch him for doing it. Stay out of my kitchen.
Well, I haven't done it in a while, and I was sitting there thinking, because I'm on vacation this week. I was like, I've been off all day, hadn't really done anything. And I actually went to the store, got all the way home, and said, you know what? Let me go by and get some food to cook. Because I knew she had a doctor.
You angel pie man.
Yeah, just trying to, Yep.
And those things, you said put your relationship first. That's one thing that we have done from the beginning.
Yes.
And I give us credit for that. I don't know, other than our feelings for each other, where that would come from, at least from my perspective. I just knew that I loved him and I wanted to be with him and I wanted it to last. And so we always put each other first. And I think that we're here today because we've gone through so much, but we've always maintained that that commitment to each other, to the relationship. And so we have the purpose, we have relationships, and then the spiritual is the third leg.
Yeah, look, I tell people when I read them, I do not care if you are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, pagan, Hindu, believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. But with me, you do have to believe somebody up there loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you, because I did the cancer dance 3 times, and I don't think I got off the dance floor all by my little onesies.
Right.
So however you see spirit, make that connection. You will feel less alone. You will get, when I say get messages, it's not like I'm channeling something, but I often say the world is like one big tarot card, and tarot cards can have allegories. For instance, there's a card called the Tower, and it shows a tower in flame and people falling off. And a lot of readers say it's doom and gloom and destruction. I say, no, it's like the imploding sports stadium. Okay.
Right.
Boston Red Sox want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up Fenway first. So if your life is falling apart, think of Tower Card. Where do you need to clear the ground to rebuild something better?
Oh, I like that.
And when you get really stuck, I give people the deity on the mountain exercise. Okay. Pretend that you are a 100-foot god and you are standing on a cliff a half a mile above a city, and you're kind of overlooking things. And you see the births, the deaths, and the alliances and the squabbles and the marriages and the divorces. But because you see it in an overview, you see the patterns. You're not stuck in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So when you're in a tough situation, get quiet, get centered, go upstairs, which is what I call it. Right. And imagine that you are that god or goddess on a mountain, and see what you can see from patternings. Remember the compassion that Spirit has for us. Compassion, it's, I admit, we are little dust motes on a tiny planet on the end of a middling galaxy. I don't think that God's going to yell at me if I forgot to pay for a can of tuna fish in my shopping cart.
Right, yes.
Okay. So you too have to think from the point of view of compassion, reality, and the overview. You will get more in touch with Spirit at that point. You will get more in touch with your own spirit, and you will strengthen that third leg so that you have a solid foundation under life. And when you have a solid foundation under life, that's going to make your partnership better too.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is.
That's awesome. So I don't even know where to go from there. I mean,
well, I wanted to delve into this. For our listeners, we have some traditional thinking of people that may follow us who, are tied up into one of the religions. They may look at things because even before in my walk, I was a Christian, and things like tarot cards were like, well, that's the work of the devil. That's, that's evil.
I know.
Can you share with our listeners, as well as us, and inform us the importance of tarot readings and how they can enhance one's life?
Well, for one thing, I'm not a fortune teller. Right. Here's key. And I tell my clients, don't ask yes or no questions, because that sets you up. Always ask how. So for instance, if you said, I'm going to open up a vintage clothing store, how do I make it really go? Then the cards are allegories. And I might pull a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location it might be good to look for, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Why can I do that? Because I used to be an executive recruiter, and I put people in 6-figure jobs. So you're getting both halves of my brain.
You have done it all.
What is it that you haven't
done? Sports. But the thing is, I started doing this full time when all of a sudden I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. For me, that was Spirit handing me my draft notice and saying, we need you to do some work down there. People need to know what's going on.
Right.
And for people who say this is bad, I just say, Acts chapter 2, anybody? Even such as I do, so can you.
Right.
I am not doing this because I want to get rich and famous. I'm doing this because it is service to people.
Right.
That's why I say I take my work seriously, but me not so much.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. And I can just tell that you love what you do.
I do.
You just, it radiates through in your voice and, with the the sarcasm that I love. Thank you.
Look, when people laugh, their shields go down and the information gets in.
Yes.
Humor is wonderful for that.
Right.
Yes.
So now we have those 3 parts. What do we do once we've done that work and we're fortified and we're ready to go forth and be productive with it?
You stay in the present moment. Today, I woke up healthy. Today, I had food on the table. Today, my partner kissed me goodbye before I went to work. Today, I was able to bring a sandwich to someone homeless and sit and eat my lunch with them. Today, I stopped one kid from bullying another. Today, I made a difference. That's what you do. No matter what your job is, there is a way to be kind to the world in it.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Just imagine if everybody decided to do that. That would be beautiful.
Maybe someday, but we have to model it, because maybe by modeling it, someone is going to see it and change their lives.
Right.
That's how it works.
So, parting wisdom for us, for our listeners, if we didn't pay attention to anything else, what's the one thing that we need to take from this conversation?
I want you to always ask yourself 3 questions when you're upset or something. What am I X about? X is whatever that emotion is. Angry, sad, afraid, depressed. Then, why am I X about that? Really look at your feelings and see if you can figure out why. But ask yourself the question we always forget. What do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? Called stimulus belief response. You are allowed to change in the moment. Just because you've always been this way in a situation doesn't mean you can't change it right now.
Right.
See what that does.
I like it.
I love it.
All right. So where can our listeners get more information about you, about your books, and about getting our lives together?
Oh, Margaret, they can't avoid me. They really can't. Because it's Corbie Mitleid everywhere. My website is Corbie Mitleid. You can find me Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook is all Corbie Mitleid. That's all you have to know.
Make sure we have the spelling and everything there.
Thank
and
you.
Your links there.
And follow you and bug you. And
That's
okay. Hey, look, I got to find a reason to come back down to Rusan Sushi. So there you are.
Go.
Come on, hey. You come. The door
Always
is wide
welcome.
open.
Always
The
welcome.
door is wide open.
Wonderful.
So we'd like to thank you for joining us. We've enjoyed it. We appreciate it. We're going to make sure that your information is there. We will make sure that we are following and learning from your wisdom, because there's so much.
Yes.
So we appreciate it.
Got to catch up.
It was a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You are phenomenal. You are a phenomenal woman.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Enough of that. Enough of that.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.